Hey everybody, I'm Pat Foster. This is Swap Moto Live. Welcome to Millville. We're at Spring Creek, one of the coolest tracks in the country. This is our first impression video of the 2027 CRF450, brought to you by our friends at Garnet. Man, what an awesome day. Chase and I have spent all day on this bike, had a great time. So amazing to be back in Millville. I raced the National here when I was a kid, one of my better races, just bringing back so many memories to be here. Really appreciate Honda bringing us out to do this. And man, basically an all new bike. We had a press introduction last night. Dudek and Trey Kennard took us through the bike. Probably a 45-minute presentation, taking us through all of the changes. Man, there's only a couple of part numbers that carry over from last year to this year. So let's get into it. I've been a big fan of the Honda the last few years. The 2025, they made major changes to the bike, really working on making the bike a little bit more rider friendly, a little bit more comfortable. And I gotta tell you, us media folks have kind of screwed up over the last couple of years because we were using the wrong language. We were talking about the Honda chassis in years past having a rigid feel. And that's inconsistent with what was really happening. It was giving a harsh feel, but the bike wasn't too rigid. It actually had more flex than most, and we were getting some snapback. So in Honda's quest for comfort, they've basically redesigned this whole chassis. 70% of the frame is different. It's got 10% increased torsional and longitudinal rigidity, which they say is going to really help with bump touch and comfort in the chop. The forks have actually been raked out. It's got 2 degrees more of rake. The trail has been increased. The wheelbase has been increased, all looking for more rider comfort. Of course, the foot pegs have been moved back 5 millimeters. That's going to change the rider triangle just a little bit, give people a little bit more room to move around. But all of this is geared towards finding that comfort and making this thing a little bit more planted, a little bit more stable. With the front end raked out a little bit, it's going to calm everything down. Honda's always been known for being a little busy, being a little quick. Look, this thing corners on a dime. We love the way it turns, but it's got cornering in spades, right? Let's find a little bit of calmness in the bike. So wider, longer wheelbase. You're going to plant the bike a little bit better. It's going to make it a little bit more stable going into the corners, maybe make a little bit better front end traction. They've worked a ton on the pitchiness of the bike. They don't want the bike to load back and forth as much, so it's going to stay a little bit more consistent. And man, a lot of effort into just calming this bike down, mellowing out the chassis. Like I said, finding comfort, planning the bike a little further. And then of course, big changes in the engine. You know, one of the things that everybody's been working around is the new 109 decibel limit that everybody's got to adhere to 2027. So Honda is in compliance with that. But man, when you're cutting decibels, I mean, I've heard sometimes up to a horsepower per decibel. That's tough. So Honda really went to work on the engine. Not only did they cut the sound, which is sneaky quiet, by the way. I mean, the thing is very quiet, but man, it's producing great power. I believe the number I heard is 61 horsepower out of the bike now. So comparing that to last year the power was really quick and abrupt and exciting, which I really liked. It's a lot to hold on to, and a lot of people don't like that. This year they've not only increased the torque, but they've broadened the power out. So it might not be as snappy right off the bottom, but it's got a lot of torque. It's very broad and very usable down low. They've kind of moved the power up, because last year was quick and snappy down low, and then it would kind of sign off, and it didn't have a ton of over rev. And basically they've moved the power delivery to where it's a little bit more manageable down low. Like I said, a lot of torque, a very usable feel, but each gear pulls really far. It's got a lot more over rev, a lot more top end. Another thing that's important to note is this thing's lost over 9 pounds, and a lot of that is in the engine. So you start adding horsepower and taking away weight, man, that's just such a strong combo. One thing that Honda worked a lot on is the clutch. It's got a new rubber damping system, so it kind of acts like a slipper clutch, and it's got a little bit of give in it. And man, the clutch feel is really light. It also smooths out the delivery, really helping put power to the ground. So now that we've gone through all of the changes and the reasoning why, how did it actually work on the track? Man, like I said, we're so excited to be here at Spring Creek. The dirt is amazing. It's a real treat for us. You know, Southern California, we don't get this type of dirt very often. It was fairly deep in the morning, so strong power, super important, but super tacky, grippy. Man, it just highlighted how good this chassis is. And so that's where I'll start. Man, a lot of the focus, like I said, is working on comfort and working on balance of the bike. So we were setting the sag on this thing this morning, and I was asking the boys, hey, where do you like to set it? And they go, hey, 102 is the sweet spot. So as we're getting into it, I'm 200 pounds. They're cranking down on the shock spring, and they go, you know, we really don't like to go more than 2 turns on the shock spring, because now things get a little harsh. And so we stopped at 107, and I spent some time there this morning riding there. And the bike worked great, right? It handled well. The balance of the bike was good. I had a little rear end bias, but adjusted the clickers and stuff to spend some time on it. Really enjoyed the bike. It handled great, very comfortable. But Trey and his team, man, I've got a lot of respect for them and the amount of time they put in. I go, look, I understand that I might need to put a spring on this bike for it to not be too tight, but let's set it at 102, because I want to experience what you guys are experiencing. And you know, Honda has such a playful demeanor. I don't want to lose that by not setting the sag where the boys want it. So we set it at 102. Yes, I did feel a little bit of harshness. We opened up the high speed a little bit to let it fall into the stroke a little bit. I gave it a couple of clicks of rebound just to kind of balance the bike out. And the bike worked great. I say it all the time. The Honda is one of the most fun bikes out on the track. It's just such a fun chassis. It's so playful, it's so lively. You see the Lawrence brothers, you know, hopping over breaking bumps and standing up into corners, and that's just the nature of the Honda. Of course, I'm not comparing myself to a Lawrence brother in any way, but when you're on this bike, it encourages you to do that type of cool, dynamic moves. Just that the chassis is so fun and playful in that way. So, you know, Honda's been working on kind of mellowing the bike out, calming it down, all of those things. Honda didn't lose any of that. This thing is as fun and as exciting as it's always been. It's just, they've just found a little bit more planted feel. What I really appreciate about the efforts that they've done is coming into some of these corners, we got a lot of downhills, we got some off cambers. The bike just feels very, very planted and connected to the track surface. It's very confidence inspiring. Coming in and lean in is great. The bike feels light, it feels nimble, but it feels like you're connected. It doesn't feel like you're gonna lose the front end. And it encourages you to push hard. The stability that they were looking for, I got a couple fast straightaways here where you're coming in and there's braking bumps. The bike isn't pitching and it's not putting a lot of weight on the front. The rear end's not kicking. The bike stays very planted and level, which encourages you to push harder into the corner. But then all those things that we love about the Honda, the light feel, the way that it lays into the corners, this thing corners better than anything in the class, all of that still exists. It's just now you're able to utilize it better because you've got more comfort and more confidence going through the bumps to get to the corner. It encourages you to push harder into the turn. But like I said, the chassis and the engine are working together. The smoother power, the broader delivery is better at putting power to the ground. So it's working with the chassis, working with the new suspension changes. So it's just a lot more comfortable, a lot more efficient, a lot easier to get power to the ground. Good power, but comfortable delivery. So talking about the power, if you guys have watched my videos, you know I like a little excitement down low. I want some pop, and I really liked the last few years Honda power delivery. It was exciting. Chase got on the bike today and he goes, hey, is this a lot more linear than last year? Because he hasn't spent a lot of time on the Honda. And I'm like, yeah, it's broader. And he goes, man, it still feels pretty aggressive to me. It still feels really exciting. So when I say that it's a little broader and smoother, man, they didn't lose a lot. They just kind of softened the edges a little bit. It's still got a ton of grunt down low. It hits hard, but it's just a little bit broader. And then, like I said, it pulls really far in each gear. Second, you could rev it a long ways. Third, you could rev even further. Tons of over rev, tons of top end, which the Honda was lacking last year. It's really fast. We're super impressed with this power plant. Of course, all of the map options are the same. Map 1 is kind of the standard map. Map 2 is broader, smoother, more linear. We tried that a little bit today, and it definitely smooths things out. So if you're riding somewhere that's slick, kind of hard pack, nasty, Map 2 is going to work really good. And then Map 3 is super aggressive, and it hits hard. And if you're looking for more bottom end, it explodes off the bottom, signs off a little bit earlier. And the guys at Honda said, hey, we were working on trying to make the maps, the delineation a little bit stronger, you know, so it's not like, oh, I kind of tell a difference, I'm not sure. No, you can tell a major difference. There's 3 distinct maps, and they work really, really well in different conditions. So kudos to them for putting that together with the new engine package. So one of the major focuses for all of the manufacturers recently has been this new 109 decibel limit that's coming into place in 2027. The Honda adheres to that. This thing is quiet. In fact, it's amazing how fast it feels with how quiet it sounds. But man, every time you cut a decibel, I've heard from some sources that it's almost a horsepower. So Honda went to work on the engine. Not only did the engine itself lose 6 pounds, but they changed the bore, they changed the stroke. It's got a bigger bore, shorter stroke. It's got a new transmission. It's got a new intake. The engine itself, they've increased the torque by nearly 4%, max torque. They've increased the horsepower by nearly 10%. They found a lot of power in this bike. And so their goal was to make it a little bit more broad down low, a little easier, like utilize all of that torque down low, make it a little bit easier to ride. But a big complaint on the Honda in the years past has been that it doesn't rev as far, it doesn't pull as far as some of the other bikes. This thing's got a ton of top end, a ton of over rev. The changes in the transmission, they made the gears taller, so it pulls second further, it pulls third further. Man, it just makes the bike a lot easier to ride while you're making good power, and gives you some options. If you want to catch those shifts timely, it'll pull it. But also, if you want to keep it in that gear and rev for a long time, man, it'll keep revving. I already mentioned that the clutch action is really smooth, very positive, good at putting power to the ground. I love the changes to the foot pegs. The ergonomics feel a little bit more comfortable. Catching the shifts are super clean, super easy. Having a little bit more room for big boots, definitely an improvement. I did talk to Trey, who's got a smaller foot. He goes, hey, that was never a problem for me. And I go, well, is it a problem for you now? He goes, no, my foot reaches it just fine. It works great. So it appears to be a universal fix for everybody. So clearly we came away from today super excited about the new bike. Really appreciate all of Honda's efforts. We appreciate Spring Creek having us out here. As usual, we're going to get this thing home to California. We're going to spend a lot more time on it. We're going to spend more time testing. All of our settings that we've had on last year's bike are out the window. Really looking forward to experimenting with it, getting it at California tracks, going out to Glen Helen, going out to Fox Raceway. Man, thank you guys very much for tuning in. Thank you to Garnet for helping us put this together. And yeah, please stay tuned. We're going to have a lot more on this new 2027 Honda.